Look at this beautiful trout.
Bingo. There we go.
Yeah, baby.
Well, hi everybody. Thanks for joining Dances with Trout. This is going to be our second fly tying video in a series of many more to come. So far, we've released one video on YouTube. We have covered the San Juan worm in our own take, the San Juanita worm. Today, we're going to be doing something just a little bit different. We're going to go ahead and step up the difficulty just ever so slightly. This is still a very simple pattern. I think you'll find it's very easy to tie. Only requires 3 or 4 basic materials. So let's get started here. The very first one we're going to need is, and I'm going to be making a very black pattern today, a very dark pattern. This right here is UTC 140 denier. That's what we're going to be starting out with our thread. I've also got some hairline 1500ths lead-free wire. We'll be using that here shortly as well. Also using, interestingly enough, scud backing. So this is the 1/8 inch black stone scud backing. Looks like this here. We'll be getting into that. This makes for a really nice body. So we'll check that out. And I like to use this right here for this particular pattern. This is emergence dubbing, and I've got this in the black blood leech color. Very, very nice, makes really nice leggy material up on the front of that body to give that appearance of some legs, some emerger legs. The hook that we're using today is a size 14 Nymph Master CZ CZ Caddis grub, as you can see here. So that's the hook that we're going to be using today for this one. But I would recommend, if you're going to use a weighted bead, stay small on the bead. What I rather do is weight my fly with some, in this case, lead-free wire. I think it helps the bead just get down just a little bit faster. This is going to be more for shallow water presentations. So if you need to get down deeper and you need to get into those deeper pools, you're going to want to probably have a different hook, and you're probably going to want to put that bead on. But in this case, with the materials I have today, let's just stick with the lead wire. So a little trick, a lot of you know this already, but I'll just go ahead and share it. A little trick to get your wire to the hook. Grab some of these little hackle, this little hackle tool here, and what you're going to do here is grab it right on there, and then we're going to take this and we're just going to get it set right up onto the back of the hook there. Okay, so right now it's doing the holding for me. I need to just hold it right there, and then I'm just going to go ahead and make some touching wraps up towards the front of the hook eye here. Okay, we don't need to go too terribly far with this. Okay, I am going to push this back just ever so slightly, so just we'll take a look at this here in just a second. Okay, so what I'm going to do right now is helicopter it off right there, and this last little remaining part is still usable. We're just going to go ahead and just manipulate that onto the hook there, like so. These little tweezers let you get into those finer little nooks and crannies. There we go, like that. And then, like I said, I'm just going to push this back ever so slightly, kind of into position. I really want this towards the back, right about there. This is going to leave, there's not going to be anything on the back here, but this is going to leave a little bit room up here in the front for us to go ahead and put that emergence dubbing on there. So, all right, we're going to grab our UTC thread. Again, 140 denier for this particular hook size is fine. It's also fairly strong, so, but I'm just going to start right here in the front and get those wraps on there. At least get it onto the hook. Okay, pull your thread tight, give it a nice little snip. And now it's on the hook. Just make a couple more little turns there. what we're gonna do is we're just gonna take this, holding our, I put my little, my nail in the back there to make sure that that doesn't come back any further. And we're just gonna ever so softly bring it back. And it will go in between the cracks. The idea here is we're not trying to create a very, we're not trying to spread that out. So I'm coming towards the back of our hook here, right to the back. Now you'll see you reach the end, and now I'm on the hook. Again, I'm on the hook shank, right at the bend of the hook, and I'm just gonna build a little, basically a stop. So that's to prevent, the wire from moving. So this is going to be locked in place here in just a moment. Okay, so we're just kind of getting this where we need it to be without moving down the hook. And you'll see right in the back there, I can kind of move it back. It's not going to move anymore. It's great. Now that you've reached the back, again, we want to start building a little bit of a taper here. So just start winding your thread here, build that little body. And we're going to come forward here, back to the front. Go. And I'm just coming back to the hook there, or to the weight, the weight in the middle, the lead weight. So now what we're going to do is we've got our scud backing here. So just kind of hold it down there with your finger for a second while you cinch it, just like that. Give it a couple wraps there. Okay, and we're just going to pull back ever so slightly. There we go. And now I've got this little tag here in the front, which is fine, but you really want to get that pulled just a little bit tighter, so you can see as I pull on the back here, just enough to kind of get that pulled down. We'll be covering this with emergence dubbing here shortly. But all we're doing right now is locking this in place. So to make sure that you don't build too much of an excess thickness in your body, you're going to want to go ahead and stretch it as you're continuing your thread wraps back. So I just kind of pull it back here towards the rear end. Okay, get this at this point just kind of cinched down like that. There. Okay. All the way to the back. Keep pulling it down. Build the body up in the back just ever so slightly. So use your thread. Right now is the time to do this before we start winding up. Use your thread to create that segment, or that, excuse me, that taper. Okay. And what we can do here is build a little bit thicker in the front. I'm not going to go back any further now. We're done in the back as far as building the body. But what I do want to do here is build that front taper up just a little bit. So, go. Like that. All right. So right now we're going to hold it there. Always save your work. Got the whip finisher there. So we're just going to go ahead and give it a whip finish or two. There, a couple whip turns. Now, once you make your whip turn, if you have a bobbin holder, what I recommend doing is putting your thread off to the side on the bobbin. I have a rotary vise here that we can go ahead and do the rotary. So what I'm going to do is start building this body. Pull the taper. You don't have to pull too hard though. You do want this to be touching turn wraps as you go. So right there, that little front tag end, once you reach that, you're golden. You're there. Get rid of our bobbin holder there. Now what we need to do is tie this off. So right now, we're going to tie it off, like I said, right at that. You really want it right there at that little tag that you've already created. So we're just going to take our thread back up just ever so slightly. And now, what I do here is I pull away from me with the scud backing, pull toward me with the thread, come over the top, and then what you now have, and you'll see here in just a second, is it's essentially in there, it's locked. It's basically locked in with a thread, but what we need to do is we just need to perform a couple extra wraps up the front here with it. So we're just going to come up 1, 2, 3 there, and one more for good measure. I'm leaving a little space here from right here where the thread is up until just before the eye. That's going to be our emergence dubbing. So we're essentially done with the scud backing at this point in time. So we're just going to go ahead and pull up on the scud backing, flip it. We're done with that. And let's just give it one more nice little pull there to kind of lock in that scud backing right there. Okay, for the next step, we're going to need to go ahead and get our emergence dubbing. Now, we're just going to use a little at a time, and I do mean a little, okay? When I mean a little, I mean that much, okay? That much, guys. Let me see if you can kind of see that. Yeah, there we go. It's not much. It's wispy, it's airy, but that's okay. You want that because you don't want this getting your all bound around your thread. Okay, so get this on there to start, and I'm just spinning it around clockwise. Okay, move it up towards the front there. Now we're just going to come around. Okay, starting big in the back right there. Okay, we can add just a hair more, and I do mean a hair more. So just gonna add a little more here. Okay, right in the front. And there we go. So just take your fingers here, just kind of pull the hairs back as you come to the front, because we're going to be getting ready to do this is the end of the pad, the fly. So just get it right there in the front. Okay, get all those hairs back. Might take a little saliva, but you want all of them out of the way here. Like that. All right. Whip finish this with 1, 2, 3. Don't need to go crazy with the whip finishes because we are going to add just a little bit of UV resin here. Okay, pull down on your hook, so I'm applying a little pressure there. Tap you only need to tap, doesn't need to be anything crazy. Just tap your nice sharp scissors right on there, and it'll pop right off. There we go. Now, before we add any cement, this is the time just to trim it up a little bit. Make that front end, the front part of the hook, look a little respectable. Okay. Get any of the crazy stragglers out of there. You do want some length to some of those wispy hairs. That gives it that nice leggy look underwater. Remember, it's not gonna look the same underwater as it does up here on land. So what I'm doing here is just adding, this is Solar Res Bone Dry, and be very cognizant and mindful of the hook eye. Okay, don't get it in there, because once it's in there, it is a pain to get out. So we're just ever so slightly tapping that front thread with the Solar Res resin. Okay, all the way around, and that's why we don't need any more whip finish. UV light, we're just going ahead and we're going to apply it there, and we're done, guys. So that's it. That is the fly. Okay, it's got a really nice segmented look to it. Okay, you'll note, and it's got this kind of a rubbery texture to it. It is going to be nice and chewy for the fish. So when the fish see this, this should be very enticing. You can make this with all kinds of different materials. One thing you can do is, instead of using the black, what you can do is use right here clear, and then the underbody you can make different color threads. You can add, you can marker, you can Sharpie the different areas with different colors. Get creative. I've got other patterns on this same pattern in different colors. I've got ones that have multiple segments coming up. This is a really good fly for those dark days. If you have stained waters, this works really well as well. Essentially, you need something dark down in the deep, something kind of buggy looking, and there you go. So that is the Dances with Trout Cased Caddis.